we have come to Ford Green Hall in Stoke-on-Trent. This is a 17th century timber framed farmhouse that was in the Ford family for almost 200 years. So we'll go and have a look. So there's a little path that runs around the back of the hall to find your way in, and there's steps up to it, so I'm not sure which way round wheelchair users go. It's possibly at the front. Now we've discovered that the entrance is round the front, and here we've got a herb garden. It tells you what they're for textiles, medicinal. So we're inside, we've got some very low doors, so we have to duck to go through. If you duck there, John. Yes, what have we got in here then? Looks like lots of different clothes from
early Tudors to late Stuarts.
So it's kind of outfits that they wore then, if I just do that.
So it's about 1500s to the 1670s.
That kind of looks like a Henry VIII outfit.
It's a Henry VIII.
Yeah.
Quite stylish, isn't it?
Well, for the day, I guess.
So you wouldn't want to wear that today?
No, I wouldn't want to wear that today.
I've got my codpiece on.
What's this for?
That's called a standard, a male standard, and it goes around your neck. It's like a very high collared piece of mail that goes round. It kind of goes round like that.
Oh, stylish.
Yeah.
This is the hall, which it says is the most important room of the house. It's believed that some or all of the cooking was originally done here, taking place on a large open hearth using spits and pot hooks over the fire. The family would have also eaten in this room, sitting at a long table, such as this one here, with the most important members sitting on high-backed chairs. So the man of the house, I guess, sat there in the middle. On the wall behind the table, carpenter's marks can be seen. These marks were put on when the wood was being prepared to ensure that the timbers would be correctly assembled on site. Originally, all the windows in the house would have had sliding shutters. These provided additional comfort and security at night, at a time when window curtains were not in common use. So we've got some sliding shutters on those windows over there.
What are we eating?
And we have plastic bread and plastic crepes, and looks like a pigeon and pie. Very quite rich food they had then. So we've got some very old furniture here, and I guess this is the fireplace where they'd have done the cooking. This would have been nice and snug in winter.
I can imagine. Probably a bit warm.
This is the kitchen, which is in the put my teeth in the brick wing, which was added to the house in the 1730s. This is a newer bit. By this time it had become fashionable to have a separate room away from the main living area in which to do all the cooking and food preparation. Cooking would still take place over an open fire, like there, but the existing fireplace would originally have been much larger and surrounded by equipment such as brackets, hooks, chains, skewers and spits, which are all used in the hot and skillful work of cooking over an open fire. This room is furnished mainly with articles from the 18th and 19th century. On the dresser are plates of tin glazed earthenware or delftware, which would be used for special occasions, while the corner shelf displays local Staffordshire slipware. Other articles of tableware include items made out of wood, leather, horn and pewter. The larder cupboard, with its ventilation holes, contains carved wooden moulds which were popular for gingerbread or spiced biscuits. We've got pheasants and rabbits hanging up over the top of the fire that's in here. And we've got a long table that's got fish on it and eggs and lanterns that you could see obviously, and we've got vegetables there. And something's tickling the top of my head. Ah, that would be the herbs hanging from the ceiling. But here, if you look here, John, we've got a doorway here. It's marked private, so you can't go through. But that's how low the door is.
Oh gosh.
And this doorway is a normal height, so you're okay. Got a cupboard here that's got different artefacts in it, John. So we've got a ceramic colander. So if you drop that, it'll break.
It'll break.
A blackjack, which is a leather jug. And we've got a wooden goblet, and we've got an egg holder. So you could have your toast and egg soldiers in that. Lots of eggs actually, because it holds 6. And we've got lots of different things. This was the porch, and that was the front door. So it says the main timber frame structure was built in 1624, but the porch with its chamber above is a later addition which was probably built soon afterwards. At this time it was fashionable to add an imposing entrance to your house, and at the same time it served a practical purpose in helping to prevent drafts and improve privacy. Today the porch is only part of the ground floor, which still has its original flooring of stone flags, so we can see down here. Over the lintel to the doorway, the name of the craftsman who built the original house can be seen in an inscription which reads, Rafe Sutton Carpenter. This is the front door, so it's only that high. That's the top of the door, and then they've got this big bolt on it, big wooden bolt, and the latch to open it. There's the carving over the door. Hope the camera can pick it up. There. So we're going to head up the stairs. This room is called the Pottery chamber. And it's called this because it was once the above what was once the buttery. The simple bedstead is a copy of the type of beds which most of the household at Ford Green Hall would have slept in. They were considerably cheaper than the best 4-poster type bed which the master and mistress of the house would have slept in. So this is the Pottery chamber with the original wooden floorboards.
As you can probably hear.
Yeah, and they've got a few bumps in them. This is the parlour chamber. It says it's now used as a workroom for spinning and embroidery, but at the time of Hugh Ford's death in 1712, it contained 3 beds with a press, a coffer, 2 brass pans and a chest of goods. Today the room is one of the lightest in the house because extra windows were added at a later date. The fireplace around with its painted decoration is also a later addition of the early 19th century. A section of the wall has been cut away to show the original wattle and daub which was used as infilling between the timbers. The wattle is made from interwoven hazel sticks, while the daub is a mixture of mud, straw and cow dung. Skittles. I recognise Skittles.
Taste the rainbow.
No, not the sweets. Didn't have any of that rubbish there.
They're different things.
Yeah, they're different rubbish there, yes. But they didn't have any of this manufactured rubbish.
This is where you can see what the inside of the wall is like.
Yeah. Ah, okay.
So that's the wattle.
Yeah. And you can see the sticks. Was it hazel sticks on it? With the daub in between them. Held together with cow dung.
Using everything that you can use.
Yeah.
Some very industrious cows around here.
Yes.
Yeah. Want to have a look at this? What it looks like. If you want to feel this, brass coupler on the door.
Don't open it. Because they're very old and easily damaged, it says on the sign. But you can touch the handles. This is the hall chamber. The household at Ford Green was often a large one, so that it was necessary to make maximum use of all available space. Privacy was a luxury which few could afford, and in 1712 the hall chamber contained 3 beds, though these would not have been of the 4-poster kind. The bed displayed here dates from around 1600 and is said to have been made for the Dean family at Norton Hall. Its hangings were commissioned in 1988, but are of a type that might have been hung on the bed in the 17th century. Various chests were used for storing clothes and other personal items, in addition to bedding and household goods. Chests of drawers were not in common use until around 1700, and it was not usual to hang clothes in cupboards in the way that we do today. There's the bed again, quite narrow, with the baby down there. And the chest that where the lid lifts up, and it's actually the toilet. And then through here, which we can't go through, but we can look. This is the porch chamber. So it had a variety of uses, being used at different periods as a dressing room, a study and for storage. So I can just have a look in. So here it's being used as a study. I can see how it would have been used as a dressing room because it's just off the bedroom. And if you come forward, John, you can see how low the doorway was again. No, you can't go through because the room's alarmed, but you can feel how low it is.
Ah, yes.
That's the top of the doorway. And it's also quite narrow. If you feel that, that's the left. There's the right. So it's quite a narrow doorway
Another
as
very
well.
narrow doorway.
The tester bed in a 17th century home would have been a very expensive piece of furniture. In fact, almost a third of families of wealth could be tied up in a tester bed. Curtains or hangings were put around a bed to keep out the light, to keep in the warmth, and to provide privacy, as sometimes a servant could be sleeping in the same room. Less wealthy families would probably have slept on straw, stuffed sacks or mattresses simply placed on the floor at night, giving rise to the saying, hit the hay. That's the bed. It's quite high off the ground.
I better look it up.
Well, it looks like there's a stool next to the bed, so maybe they used the stool, I don't know. But it does look quite high off the ground. Now outside at the front of the house, there's the gate that you come in if you're in a wheelchair. Obviously upstairs isn't accessible if you're in a wheelchair. There isn't the space to put a lift in, and you damage the integrity of the house, so it's understandable. It's the front door there from the outside where the porch was. So this is the front of the house. Here, around to the back again. It's a big house, still standing after all these hundreds of years. It says most of Ford Green Hall would have been built from oak timber, framing like this model. Originally constructed in the carpenter's yard, each piece would be numbered, as we can see here, and they'd be packed on wagons and brought to the building site. The workmen then just had to follow the numbers, all Roman numerals, you'll notice. Wattle and daub infill was then used to fill the spaces in between the timbers. So we put hazel sticks in, as we read earlier, and they put the daub in there to fill in the gaps. And here's the painting of what Ford Green Hall as it may have looked shortly after it was constructed in 1624. We've had a look around Ford Green Hall. There's a small charge to enter. George paid a child price because he's under 15. and John paid a concessionary price because he's blind, and I paid the full price, but it really is a nominal charge, so it isn't overly expensive anyway, so it's fine. It was interesting seeing some old building techniques and some of the clothes that they wore and some of the furniture. Some things you could touch, some things you couldn't because of the age of them. So I think we spent about an hour there. Certainly not more than an hour, because we're just looking around the house. But it was really interesting.
Nice afternoon.
It was a nice hour. And I'd come and look at it again, because it is interesting, seeing a bit of history. If you like this short video, then please give us a thumbs up. And if you don't already, please hit the subscribe button and you'll never miss one of our weekly uploads again. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye now.